Optimus Prime versus Godzilla definitely has to be one of the most heated arguments when it comes to just Transformers and Godzilla fans out there. I mean, it's one of the best fights. Why not? Other than Godzilla versus Trypticon. But it's usually when it comes down to IDW versus, well, IDW. Two of the most powerful and respective franchises of each character. And you know what I kind of find interesting? How do we have Transformers with Overwatch, and we got Godzilla with Power Rangers, and Godzilla versus DC and the Justice League and all that, but we still have yet to get a crossover between these two, despite the sheer fact that they share the literal same company. And Godzilla even missed out on Infestation. I don't get that. But today we're not going to put them against each other. We're actually going to see what if they swapped versus. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, we're actually going to do some gameplay on this one because this video was very long. Thought it was going to be shorter, but let's get this over with the rules. We would not be using Godzilla in Hell, nor Alternative Optimus Prime, as they are the max of their, well, respective characters here. They're the highest forms and the most powerful versions of each other, and well, it'll be unfair. Another rule is Optimus will only have the regeneration that the Matrix provides, but not the erasure. Basically, Optimus has the Matrix within him, but can only use the regeneration and not the, erasure ability here. I want to make this as fair as possible and coming down to their basic abilities. Godzilla will also have his fusion form and the Crimson Breath he got in the Godzilla rivals with King Ghidorah. I'm gonna say Queen Ghidorah, dear Lord. And they'll also have to go through 5 opponents each. That is the next rule. So we'll be doing this a best out of 5. Whoever does the, best out of those 5 opponents, whoever gets like, 4 out of 5, maybe a 5 out of 5, obviously wins here. But we will be going over, majority rules. If a character can get another win by different means, we will, address that as well. But again, it goes for like the obviously it would just contribute to the more higher ends of the character. But let's talk about opponents. Optimus Prime will fight Space Godzilla, King Ghidorah, the Megazord, Jet Jaguar, and Destroyer. I will be fixing the order as I go along, as again it will be from weakest to strongest. And yeah, I hope you guys just enjoy it here. Now, for Godzilla, this was actually pretty difficult, so I just kind of did a wheel spin. Pretty much for both of them, I did a wheel spin because there are so many great options here. Ghidorah almost made the list, but he probably will be here for the next one, which won't be for a while because of how long this took here. But Godzilla will be fighting Galvatron with the Heart of Darkness, Thunderwing, Trypticon when he's upgraded, the Devoid Avatar, and Power Armor Megatron, or 13 Megatron. So that'll be their fights. Each of them will go through it pretty much in this order. I think Godzilla's probably the most accurate order I can pretty much give for, I guess you could say like a, I guess power-wise from weakest to strongest. But with the Godzilla one, I'm just thinking like maybe they could be here, maybe they can. But without further ado, let's begin the scaling. Now, obviously, both of these guys get to Outerversal pretty easily, even at their base levels, right? Godzilla being able to thrash characters or even thrash entities such as the Dragon Zord and even manhandle the White Tiger Zord. Both beings have been able to harm Drakon. Now, this is actually pretty important because the Megazords are confirmed to be far mightier than the likes of the Rangers themselves here. Now, Drakon is a pretty important character and is actually one of the most powerful characters in Power Rangers, probably next to the Omega Rangers and obviously I think a Morphin Grid empowered Zed, which is actually pretty ridiculous here. But again, far mightier than the Rangers, obviously. And Drakon is actually a known master of the Morphin Grid, which is an outerversal source of power, which actually is beyond the likes of time, space, and dimensions. Drakon is able to wield this power and add it to his physical capabilities, meaning that, again, he would have the durability and obviously the endurance to basically back it up, right? So yeah, Drakon will be Outerversal, and the sheer fact that Rita, a being with very powerful magic, capable of merging both the Godzilla and Power Rangers' respective cosmologies, which would include the Morphin Grid, considering Godzilla a real threat and an actual monster, or at least his enemies were actual real monsters. Keep in mind, even in his own verse, Godzilla has been able to deal with gods like Yamato no Orochi and Utsuno Ikozagami throughout other incarnations of him. Now, let's head over to Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime is very simply outer, as he deals with threats that actually are able to, well, reach creation level. Now, This is probably one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to Transformer scaling, and this is referred to as creation level. All right, creation level does not refer to the Transformers omniverse. All right, now yes, some characters do have, the title of, oh, they're an omniversal threat, they're an omniversal tyrant. Yes, they can be that. However, it refers to a much higher state of being. Now, each of these characters, when they threaten creation, they're threatening their respective multiverse. Okay? Each multiverse is separated by a continuity. However, there are some things that actually make these multiverses very similar, such as their higher form of mathematics. Now, this is important because each Transformers continuity runs on quantum mechanics. This is actually important because quantum mechanics actually dives into Hilbert space. Hilbert space dives into the dimensional space that is within each cosmology, or within each multiverse, excuse me, meaning that Transformers, or at least the IDW verse, operates on an infinite dimensional spacing, or an infinite dimensional spatial brand, if you guys get what I mean here. So with that being said here, this would put a basic multiverse at high hyperversal. However, some multiverses can get higher than that. Now you might say, Legendary, what do you mean by that? Well, that's where we actually get into the higher realms. Now, the IDW verse, which Optimus Prime defends, does have a lot, and I mean a lot, of different universes that just make up a part of it, right? They have conceptual universes that literally just embody various concepts like life, death, destruction, happiness, joy, love, and even the concept of resurrection. And the thing is, they're able to turn these things into alloys and apply it to themselves and gain their abilities. Yeah, Transformers is pretty broken, ain't it? Then you have the sheer fact that there are even metaphysical realms, which basically dives into the nature of the mind, or the nature of that specific person's mind. Basically, it's how your dreams work. So, you have full control, or, you're in a nightmare and it just gets worse and worse because of your imagination, right? However, these higher dimensions transcend these basic multiverses to such a degree that they make them look basic. So yeah, both of these characters get out of Universal pretty easily. And yeah, with that out of the way, we can actually start off with our good boy here, Godzilla. So yeah, I think we start off with Galvatron in the Heart of Darkness. Now, Galvatron himself is actually capable of overpowering and smacking around both Optimus and Megatron, even killing platonic concepts like Nexus Prime themselves. Please wait until the Primes video to, well, get further context to that, as I want that to be a bit more dedicated to them, how they are, what they're made up of, and, so on and so forth. So just wait for that 13 original Primes video and lore and stuff there. So I think you guys will enjoy it. Now, what is the Heart of Darkness? Well, the Heart of Darkness is basically an evil version of the Matrix of Leadership, except it has no limitations. You see, Galvatron has used this to mind control people, resurrect the dead, and actually use it to physically augment himself and his firepower to the point where he can just one-shot Optimus Prime and actually damage entities that are powered up by the dead universe, which is very volatile and raw with power. It's one of the more, I guess you could say, it's one of the more powerful universes in a battery-like sense, right? And considering it is above the Matrix, this means that Galvatron basically possesses a power that can one-shot his entire cosmology if he wanted to, or his entire multiverse, excuse me. So with that being said here, how does Godzilla fare against Galvatron? Well, when it comes to mind control, Galvatron does not use this very often, but it is able to control strong-willed Cybertronians like Drift, and even expose the memories of beings like Hardhead and RC. But Godzilla's actually resistant to telepathy. He's resisted the Fairy Twins telepathy, and I even believe he's resisted Rita's attempts at magical mind control as well, and it just pissed him off. So yeah, Galvatron trying to use that would probably just piss Godzilla off more. And keep in mind, these twins here have been able to control the likes of Batra, Rodan, and have even popped the heads off of a Batra trilopod. So, yeah, Galvatron at this point now has to rely just on the death manipulation and the firepower that he has just augmented here. And in all honesty, I don't really think this gets him anywhere in the fight against someone like Godzilla. I mean, it's the king of monsters, for crying out loud here. Godzilla can simply just overpower him and even dodge the blast himself, because again, Godzilla is faster than light, many times faster than light to immeasurable levels of speed here. So with that being said here, him being able to dodge, weave, and just blast Galvatron is not out of the question here. Galvatron would be simply eliminated in a matter of, I'd probably give it an hour at best, because Galvatron still possesses the speed advantage, but again, Godzilla can, react to him. Now, this is where things get difficult with Thunderwing. Now, Thunderwing required the full power of Optimus post his Matrix boost to actually be able to beat him. But before that, Thunderwing was an absolute menace. He thrashed around the specialized drones that were made to defeat him. He beat the Wreckers senselessly. And in the past, he fought, and these guys only can slow him down here. He fought Trypticon, Omega Supreme, Megatron, and Optimus in their younger years. And all they could do was slow him down, even taking a combined blast from them. Keep in mind, again, younger characters, when they are far weaker, but again, this is still impressive, all right? And Thunderwing's ability are these shockwaves. These shockwaves have been able to reach across the main IDW universe and cause destruction across it, all right? So Thunderwing shockwaves are no joke. But I think Godzilla does have a way to get around it, albeit I think it is a very interesting way to go about it here. But I can just see Godzilla doing it, right? So when Thunderwing does his shockwaves, I can actually see Godzilla going in for a nuclear pulse here. This will likely disrupt the shockwaves and likely mess both of them up, in all honesty. Meaning that Thunderwing will probably have to find other ways to just get around and fight against Godzilla, meaning that it may come down to a physical confrontation. Now, Thunderwing doesn't have too much experience when it comes to physical confrontations, and it's very possible Godzilla may just do the same thing Optimus did with either his Crimson mode or his Fusion mode. Just go full power and lay into them like there's no tomorrow. And again, what's to stop Godzilla from doing this? Thunderwing shockwaves. That's the best that it is. And now you might say, well, what about Thunderwing's fire breath that could destroy, or scorch entire planets? Yeah, that's not going to even come close. It might be able to match the regular atomic breath, but it's not doing anything else special after that here. So Godzilla moves on here. Now, next up we have Trypticon. Yeah, this one's going to be a doozy, because I made a Trypticon versus Earth Defenders video where, again, it was basically this same Godzilla, but again without the Crimson mode, right? So maybe this could give him an advantage, maybe not, but again, I did give it to Trypticon because he has so much weapons, or so many weapons in his arsenal, and he just kind of scales a bit higher. Now again, a younger Trypticon did struggle with Thunderwing. And yes, I do think Godzilla will be able to beat Thunderwing, but with some moderate or if not high difficulty. Now, do I think Godzilla can beat Trypticon by himself? Yeah, I think he can, albeit it is going to be some major difficulty. You see, the way Godzilla is going to have to do it is that he's going to have to get Trypticon to swallow him. No diddy. Now, you see, the reason why Trypticon is upgraded here is because after the Transformers Monstrosity run, Megatron confiscated Trypticon and made him loyal to him and upgraded him with major weaponry. This is to the point where the Autobots had to summon Metroplex in order to fight him here. So he has some pretty decent scaling, and the sheer fact he ran through the Autobots' blockade and weaponry to the point where Optimus Prime deemed him a Matrix level threat. And Optimus was trying to pull out the Matrix and use it on him here. But then he got stumped here. However, the way Trypticon was beaten was because the Dinobots, who actually had the attack potency to hurt him, as they were like tearing him apart on the outside and causing him great pain, to the point where he's actually jumping up here at the third scan bottom panel, obviously, right? And the thing is, Grimlock and Megatron get into a scuffle. They both get chomped on and swallowed by Trypticon. Again, no Diddy. And what they do is they destroy his internal module. And here's the thing. Megatron's fusion cannon couldn't cut it, right? He was blasting them. He couldn't cut it. And Grimlock was like, nah, I got this. And this was after fighting off an Energon surge here. So Grimlock decided to just simply slash it. And it was done here. So Godzilla's best bet, and while I do think this is possible because it is in character for Trypticon to do something like that and let these dinosaurs, that's what the Y, by the way, because apparently that's what they call them, these prehistoric Cybertronian-like dinosaur creatures here, I can actually see a case where Trypticon does swallow Godzilla, and Godzilla unleashes his atomic breath and nuclear pulse all up inside him, no Diddy, and just, knocks Trypticon out that way. Do I think it's a bit of an uphill thing? Yes, but again, we are exploring every possible win con he can. Godzilla can definitely give Trypticon a hard fight, but I definitely think he would lose here. Now, let's go over... I think we're at... Let me see real quick. I think, I might be a little ahead of myself here, believe it or not here. I know this is a 30-minute video, but I might be a little ahead of myself, so just give me a second here. I think the next one is Devoid. Okay, so we're going to be covering Devoid next here. And Devoid is a living, sentient multiverse. Now, this is pretty important because we are going to have to address the Avatar, and we are going to have to address the true form as well here. So, take it as you will. I can understand if, you think like, well, I guess Godzilla loses this one. But believe it or not, I actually think he can beat Devoid's Avatar, but not his true form. This is definitely going to be a weird argument. So, yeah, let's, shoot, I think, hold on a minute. I think I'm just going ahead of myself here. I'm sorry if this, I didn't expect the video to be this long here, so I think I am going a little bit ahead of myself here. Because I do think I was supposed to, argue Mechagodzilla arguments for the Trypticon section, and I might have skipped them. Actually, yeah, I was supposed to argue that, and then arguing Godzilla again could just go inside Trypticon and just use his nuclear pulse, so I do apologize, and I think I argued it, but I think we're at the part where, we're talking about Devoid now, so let's just, yeah, I apologize. So Devoid is a living, breathing, sentient, dead multiverse. Yeah, so remember those dead universes that I stated that are just so volatile and raw with power? Yeah, this is, a living entity. You see, a long time ago, this single dead universe gained sentience, right? And absorbed the other universal streams into him, gaining more power as it went on. Now, Devoid is confirmed to be able to destroy everything in IDW. The multiverse, its higher dimensions, all that, right? And this is because he can absorb it into himself, and thus it basically becomes him, basically destroying everything here. Keep in mind, he's also able to empower characters like Galvatron and Nova Prime, to which I think we understand how Optimus Prime dealt with his heralds. But it's actually possible for him to not only consume, but merge everything in that simple universal stream. So everything in IDW was going to get consumed just by Devoid, right? However, Megatron apparently beat the Avatar of Devoid twice. This is confirmed in his Autobot bio, how he was able to beat him, and then he also beat him with his Or-13 body, and is confirmed to be able to injure the Void to such a point where he's able to retreat back into the dead universe, or at least until his dimensional brand, or at least until his, spatial area. Basically, hurt him so bad that he retreats into back to his own dimensions. Basically the best way I could put it. Sorry. Now, the way they killed him was by Optimus Prime using the Matrix to erase his true form from existence completely, saving everything. So, with that being said here, Godzilla definitely beats the Avatar. Yeah, if a power armor Megatron, with Or-13 being a walking concept, could easily injure the Void, I don't see any reason why Godzilla shouldn't be able to do it with his Crimson form or his Fusion form. I definitely could see him being able to injure the Void and being able to send his avatars back. Like it's going to be difficult because it did take a Megatron a full-blown fight in order to do it, but he should be able to do it here. But if that's the case, then I don't see him being able to beat this power armor version of Megatron. Now, a small correction for future videos going forward here. Megatron is actually wearing the concept of power, not entropy. However, the armor was made to counteract the entropy cloud. And if Megatron is able to simply injure the Void and actually force it back, and even being able to somewhat harm his true form, I really don't see Godzilla being able to beat true form the Void, nor being able to beat power armor Megatron, meaning that his final results are 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 at best. So with that out of the way, I think we can actually cover Optimus Prime, and we're going to start off with the Megazord. Now, this is I actually like the concept of this fight. I would actually like to see a Power Rangers and Transformers crossover, and to honestly have the Dinobots in it. They would probably carry. Now, the Megazord casually being able to beat up monsters that could easily blow up entire solar systems like it's nothing. Even being able to beat the original Alpha 1, which destroyed a planet and a star at the same time, and tanked it effortlessly. And being able to compete with the King of Monsters himself. So... oh, and let's not forget the Power Sword, which allows him to actually create hurricanes, actually be able to create heat, transmutate things, and actually being able to bypass the durability of other monsters. So, yeah, how does Optimus Prime do against this? And in all honesty, I don't really see it any differently than how he can deal with characters like Monstructor or Menasor. He gets up close and leaps around the Megazord because he is far faster, and just plunges through his chest. GG. Or again, he's got that thing on him. Just starts spraying the Megazord repeatedly, taking it off limb after limb after limb, or Zord after Zord, and he just, well, takes the Megazord out. Now, the next one I do have is Space Godzilla. Now, Space Godzilla is a very big threat here. Being able to use his crystals, his telekinesis, and his energy absorption. It's very possible he could drain all the energon out of Optimus Prime. Now, originally I thought, well, I guess it stops here, right? Space Godzilla takes it. However, I did a lot more research. And actually, if you read, let's see here, Transformers Autocracy, and I believe it is issue 3 or 4. It's one of these here. However, Optimus has been hit with the Vamprak ribbon, which is known to drain an opponent's energon, or drain a Cybertronian's energon, and it took 2 shots from this to basically take him down. And it's actually pretty interesting here, because the first shot didn't do anything to him until, Zeta Prime here had to stab it within him in order for this to work. And again, Optimus was fine afterwards, and then he gets the Matrix, and it can't affect him no more. So, the Vamprak ribbon is basically energy absorption itself. Space Godzilla is likely a better energy absorber, so let's be real here. And it's very possible that the Matrix of Leadership actually could protect Optimus from this kind of hack here. meaning that Optimus could potentially close the distance on Space Godzilla and just straight up tear him apart. In all honesty, I do think Optimus does outskill Mechagodzilla, sorry, not Mechagodzilla, Space Godzilla here, and just slices off his crystals here. If not, blows them up entirely, and then just takes the W that way here. I definitely do think it is a high difficulty, though. Next up is Jet Jaguar. Now, you might say, whoa, Jet Jaguar, but Space Godzilla, how? Now, in my opinion, it is pretty fair, considering he was able to knock out Godzilla with one punch, and then drag him. And this was after both of them had fought Orga and Gigan. Plus, his shrinking capabilities gives him a huge advantage in this fight here. Albeit he is able to shrink to the size of a human in order for that to kind of happen here. But again, I see Optimus prevailing in this one. I don't think Jet Jaguar really brings too much to his table, except probably a much higher strength level. And believe it or not, I think Jet Jaguar is just as skilled as Optimus Prime here. But again, I don't think it'll last long. Optimus Prime would likely rip him apart and just, shove his hand through him. Beat him like he did Nova Prime with all the reality warping and stuff that he had here. And just, it would be over simply then and there. Now, next off is King Ghidorah. Now, believe it or not, I think this is actually going to be where Optimus definitely takes his extreme difficulty win. And I could actually see him... I could honestly see him stopping. I definitely could see that here. But I could also see Optimus being able to beat King Ghidorah the same way he beat Thunderwing. King Ghidorah himself here being able to one-shot Godzilla during his Rivals 1 here. I do think Godzilla was heavily nerfed by that thing around his neck here. However, he was still able to go toe-to-toe and somewhat give a Crimson Godzilla somewhat of a challenge here before being just completely vaporized off the map here. Plus, Rita, someone who is known to create monsters, calls him a real monster, meaning that he is a genuine threat, alright, comparable to anything Rita has created. Keep in mind, Rita also was able to create Drakon at one point, so yeah, how do I think Optimus deals with this? Well, he's going to have to deal with it like he did with Thunderwing. Overwhelm the absolute mess out of Ghidorah. And I don't think it's going to be hard for him. I think Optimus would definitely be able to figure out how Ghidorah uses his gravity beams and then bait him into a beam battle. I don't think that would be hard for him to do here. Now, Thunderwing versus Ghidorah would likely be in the same result here. I do see King Ghidorah eventually winning. However, again, with some extreme difficulty. Probably a bit more than Godzilla. However, the moment that Optimus really said enough is enough here, he straight up poured every bit of his firepower into Thunderwing, and as Thunderwing was walking through it, he was getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker until Optimus just clocked him. Like, all that firepower, Thunderwing was trying to just push through, grab Optimus, but he couldn't. He faltered. He failed. And the same thing I can see happening to Ghidorah here, except it's in a beam clash. Optimus dumping every bit of energy he has just to take out Ghidorah. And if that's the case, then, well, it's pretty much wraps here for Optimus when it gets to Destroyer. Destroyer is stronger than everyone here. I don't think there's any if, ands, or buts about it. I mean, the best way I can honestly say Optimus winning is if he has like a cryo missile on him. And then, even then, I don't think it would be enough here. Well, yeah, the cryo missile would definitely be enough with Optimus' strength here. But again, he ain't getting that kind of luxury. Nah, it's Destroyer. This dude needs multiple monsters, needing Godzilla's, Godzilla needs help most of the occasion to beat Destroyer in comics. Now, I know he did lose to Biolante. But again, Biolante is pretty powerful in her own right. And the sheer fact that Destroyer is straight up overpowering and manhandling Godzilla whereas other monsters have like back and forth with the guy. Yeah, Destroyer is definitely one of those monsters that you just don't mess with altogether here. Plus the sheer fact that he has his micro oxygen beam, but then again, there is a way for Optimus to win here, and that is to possibly cut off his horn. Now again, Optimus has fought very powerful entities before that are capable of destroying, you know, his universal stream and everything, and even other cosmologies like Dungeons and Dragons and Ninja Turtles as well, and that would be the Elder Gods. And if Optimus is able to at least get around Destroyer and definitely slice his horn off, I could definitely see him getting the win here. And I think that pretty much brings us to an end. I am exhausted from this. So the final results for Optimus is that he has a much higher chance here with a 4 out of 5 or actually clearing. Based on his skill, battle IQ, and being able to use overwhelming power at precise moments, he definitely does do better than Godzilla. But hey, that's going to be all for today. Please comment, like, and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I am going to bed. Video was long enough. Peace.